Some of Alberta's early history is about cattle being driven up from Mexico, Montana, and Manitoba to feed on the abundance of grass here. From the open prairie where once the buffalo roamed, the West blossomed with the cow. Cattle ranchers of the late 1800s realized that a united front was needed to deal with the many issues that they were facing.
Originally, the Western Stock Growers Association came from 7 other smaller groups that had tried unsuccessfully to form a stockholders association in the late 1800s. And their objective, the objective of the Western Stock Growers, was to protect livestock from thieves and from fraud, and also to protect and develop the ranching industry in Alberta. In 1895 and 1896, then, A.E. Cross and Daniel Marsh formed a policy, a structure, if you will, for the Western Stock Growers Association that actually was approved as a federal statute, providing the stock growers with an ordinance to operate. The ordinance required that each of the directors would act according to the wishes of the membership. And that's why the Western Stock Growers became successful.
This single ordinance proved to be the key to 100 years of success in the stock growing industry. The result, of course, was that the Western cattle industry always acted as a unified body. Throughout its 100-year history, this ordinance would guide the industry through many situations and predicaments that potentially would have destroyed it otherwise. One of the major challenges was the eradication of mange. This cattle parasite can literally destroy an industry. Western Stock Growers Association members tossed enough money into the hat to build a series of dipping vats in various places in the foothill ranches. This allowed cattle to be treated, and eventually the mange was eradicated. Other major issues included lease tenures and taxation policies. The 1930s were marked by the Depression. Western Stock Growers President, Senator Dan Riley, noted what was to become a byword phrase of the cattle business: keep up your herds, hang on to the old cow's tail, and she'll pull you through. In the 40s, surface rights and oil exploration became issues, as did safe and humane transportation of livestock. The war affected cattle prices, and the Western Stock Growers Association unified efforts again aided cattle producers. In 1948, when the Canadian government refused to lift the U.S. embargo on beef, the Western Stock Growers Association fought for and was successful in having it lifted. It also worked on tax issues, having cattle classified as capital rather than income. The 1955 Western Stock Growers annual meeting saw more than 1,000 people debating the marketing board issue. Today, perhaps largely due to that effort, the cattle business in Canada is not under a marketing board system. It is an approach that has set the basis for building one of the most competitive industries in the world. The 60s saw efforts concentrated on fees for deeded and leased land. The 70s saw a number of accomplishments. The most significant was the creation of the Alberta Cattle Commission, the province-wide organization set up to raise funds for promotion, research, and lobbying. The Western Stock Growers Association exists today as a grassroots organization of beef producers that has no ties to government and can lobby that perspective on behalf of the directive of its membership. They have faced many challenges over the years and are prepared for more to come in the future. It's a unique organization which has outlasted many other competing groups throughout its 100-year history. To commemorate this anniversary and the Cowboys of the Old, the Western Stock Growers decided to celebrate with a cattle drive from the past.
The cattle drives back then, as you know, were a way of moving cattle from Texas into up to the railhead in the Kansas area. And you could raise cattle very cheaply down there, but you had to get them to market. And so the cattle drive was the only method of doing that. It went across a lot of open plains, a lot of Indian territory. The Indians were not friendly. Their buffalo had disappeared. They needed food. They were hungry. In the older days, it was anything but a celebration. But a cattle drive symbolizes the hard work and the perseverance of the ranching community. It's their method of moving their livestock, their livelihood, from point A to point B to get it to market, to get it home. It requires a lot of work, it requires a lot of care, but there's a certain amount of camaraderie among cowboys when they're moving and handling their livestock, and that can't be replaced with any other function. And so I'm sure that the Western stock growers decided that they were so proud of their heritage, they're so proud of their way of life, they wanted to demonstrate that in a cattle drive, and they wanted to share that with anybody who was interested.
Just the average everyday Joe was then invited to tag along on what was to become a historical event. One of the first steps was to get the word out.
Much of it was by word of mouth. We advertised on the media, of course, with radio and television and newspaper ads that this was coming about. The response was terrific to that kind of thing. People had to register. They had to mail in a registration with the details of their own personal life so that we knew how to care for them. And it cost them about $100 per person per day, or in other words, about $650 for the week.
People will get a once-in-a-lifetime chance to experience a little bit of what it might have been like in those days. And then the fact that there'll be 1,500 people there, a lot of who will be friends, others who will be acquaintances, others you may never have met. And I think there'll be a lot of exchange of stories, of ideas, of events in the past, and it will never happen again.
Many people today are raised on tales of roundups and dreaming of the cowboy life. But in reality, it was waking at dawn to gather cattle, branding calves, battling weather, keeping the cattle moving, cattle feed and prices. So this cattle drive today is a look back at the past with the opportunity to travel by horseback and wagon train, trailing some 2,200 head of cattle to market. For this reason, people from all over the world wanted to be part of this historical event.
Hi, I'm Rocky Heisel from Shonkin, Montana.
I'm Jim Rutherford, and I'm from Phoenix, Arizona.
I'm Reed Snyder from Shepherd, Montana.
That's Carl Block. I'm from Abbey, Saskatchewan.
Ted Hardy from High River.
Jay Wildman from Sangado, Alberta.
I'm Bob Wilson from Calgary.
I'm Rob Leslie, and I'm from Mossley, Alberta.
I'm Chelsea Hoffman, I'm from Dorothy, Alberta.
I'm Dave Hess from Westeros, Alberta.
Neil Block from Abbey, Saskatchewan.
I'm Darren Cross from Staveley, Alberta. I came here because my dad invited me to, and I said yes.
To make the drive as authentic as possible, a wide open vast prairie with no fences was needed. For this reason, the Suffield Block was chosen. Known as Canadian Forces Base Suffield, it has an area of 2,690 square kilometers consisting of mostly rolling shortgrass prairie. Initially settled by ranchers at the turn of the century, there were 12 outfits running cattle on parts of what is now CFB Suffield. Unfit for agriculture, the land saw little productive use until the 1940s, when due to the war, the area became a joint Canadian-British military station and research facility. Today it is one of the largest military training areas in the Western world. Not coincidentally, it is also one of the largest pristine unfenced sections of pure natural prairie grassland in North America, which makes it ideal for the 100th anniversary cattle drive. Check-in for the participants took place Friday and Saturday, July 19th and 20th, 1996. Each rider and wagon driver would unload their horses, tack, and gear that would be needed over the next 5 days. The only vehicles allowed on the drive were trucks that were used to shuttle the participants' gear from campsite to campsite. As the participants arrived and got checked in, the excitement of being on this journey began. So with not only having to worry about the elements on this cattle drive, one of the soldiers warns riders to be on the lookout for items that the old cowboys didn't have to worry about.
We just want everyone to be aware. There's a lot of military ordnance laying out there. You may or may not see any of it. Anything you do see, please don't be tempted to touch it. Although all of this stuff here is inert, there's a lot of live ammunition laying out there, and if you touch the wrong thing, you won't be finishing the drive. So anything you do see, just steer your way around it, please.
On that drive with you down in '89.
So as the participants settle in and prepare themselves and their gear for the start of tomorrow's drive, we find out just how organized this Western Stock Growers Association is.
We've had a committee chairman in Roy Clark who put this thing, or started to put this thing together 4 years ago. We were able to secure permission to drive the cattle across the Suffield block. And so that was the first thing. But that was only step number one. Once you got them off the block, you still had to move them down municipal roads. You had to deal with private landowners adjacent to them. Once we had the logistics set up, then we had to organize feed, water, because we will take extra feed with us for the livestock, water for not only livestock but the people. And then how are you going to feed these people? And we had to organize a caterer who was willing to come and cook every day out in the middle of nowhere, and shelter, etc.
Participants could pay a cash price for the entry fee for the drive, or the option of donating a steer. 2,200 head of cattle made up the herd that was driven some 60 miles, and you'd wonder, where are all the cattle coming from?
All over the place, mainly Alberta. There's some Saskatchewan, and we're going to have quite a few, spectacular looking cattle, meaning longhorns with horns and stuff like that, so to make the herd look nice.
We've got the cattle all rounded up. We'll be out tending the cattle here in about, some are out there right now, and we'll be doing it all night long. And we'll be pulling out 5 in the morning. Very well organized. I would say that the staff that's put the thing together have worked really hard, and it's paying off. They've got really a lot of things, little things that you would never think of, all under control, and it's excellent, really.
During days of old, riding the range when you're sitting on a horse alone, a number of things go through your mind.
Well, there's a lot of things when you're trailing your own cattle, and I recall doing it years ago, especially in the fall, when you're taking them to market. There's a certain amount of pride and satisfaction in raising a good quality livestock. You're certainly looking at the cattle and hoping that they will do well when you market them.
It's a freedom that you don't get in anything else. To get out there on the open prairie and move cattle around or look at cattle, you're your own boss. You do the things you like. You're up against nature all the time. You're always looking up for rain and wondering if you're going to have enough feed for the winter and these types of things. But you make your own decisions. And it's just a life that I really like.
Breakfast was served between 5 and 7 a.m. each morning, as the first color group was ordered to be ready to pull out at 7 a.m. with the rest of the groups to follow. It was a different color group that led the way each day. Lunch was eaten along the trail from your saddle pack, and each evening the dinner bell rang at 6 p.m.
So we have red, black, orange, purple, yellow, and green. And each group of people belong to a group of colors. And so each color will have their turn at leading the herd out in the morning, and then we get positioned around the herd, taking it along its journey. So every day you're in a different location on the herd. Like you start out at the beginning of the herd, and then you be on the left-hand side, then near the back, then on the right-hand side, then up towards the front again.
Day 2 took everyone from the OK Corrals over some vast terrain to a campsite known to the natives as Drowning Fort. As the night entered the sky, everyone settled in and relived the evening of the cowboy. Not only was this cattle drive a great opportunity for ranchers like 96-year-old Jock to relive, but it was also a great experience and good fun for the whole family.
Well, I've been in this riding and raising cattle and driving for all my life. I was mending fence one afternoon when this feller, he stopped by.
When everyone had their horses settled for the night, the entertainment began.
And he strode up by my side.
Some just called it an early evening, while others kept it going until the wee hours of the morning.
It hasn't gone by without incident. We've had some people that wasn't ready and got bucked off their horses, and some got hurt, but nothing serious. And as long as the cattle drive goes, we had some cattle that fell back and some horses that got away, and we had to go back this morning after the second day to get 68 head that drifted back during the night. It was so dark that the wranglers and the drovers weren't able to hold them or to even check on them.
Day 3, which moved from Drowningford to Hogsback, proved to be a trail of winding roads with sights those only riding horse and wagon had the opportunity to appreciate. So it goes without saying, this cattle drive in some ways was much like a holiday for some, while some experienced the same problems encountered in the old days.
Oh, a whole lot is excited. In this big country where there's no fences, we spill some cattle each night. You know, and it's been terribly dark. It's nobody's fault, but it makes us real appreciative of the cowboys of the old days that did this for a living, and these cattle sneaked through you in the dark of the night. And this morning we found 75 head of cattle 10 miles back up the trail where we started yesterday.
Isn't that something?
And we spilled all the horses, the drover horses, and they went clear back to the last night's count. So it's pretty exciting and pretty frustrating.
Day 4 saw the entourage move from Hogsback to the South Gate, which would be the last night spent on the British block.
Big guy.
I lost a horse for 2 days, which kind of worried me. And he's a really good horse. He's the horse I use in parades for the Shrine Mounted Patrol and things. And I was a little worried because this is a pretty big yard, and the Army was good. They flew helicopters to find them, and they figured if they got back into the sandhills up in the cold storage that they may not be able to find them. So luckily they just caught them before they got in that area. It's the first time in my life that I ever went across that much country without seeing a fence.
After going across some 60 miles of open prairie and making camp at sites with names like OK Corral, Drowningford, Hogsback, and South Gate, the cattle drive arrives at the outskirts of Medicine Hat. Everyone begins gathering around the campfires to spend their last night on this great cattle drive with their old and new friends.
Sure enjoying the trail drive. Nicest bunch of steers I ever saw.
There's a lot of families here, a lot of young children. I was really surprised at the number of kids that are riding. Some look as young as 4 or 5 years old. And just a really good basic family unit. And just everybody really gets along and cooperates really well, especially in your own little circle, like you're with the same people all the time.
As morning arrives, the riders are preparing for the cattle run through Medicine Hat. Approximately 700 head of cattle were guided through the streets to the stampede grounds. People who were lucky enough to take part in this historical event have memories of what it was really like 100 years ago.
The people that are on are going to come away with a lot of memories, and possibly the town people will learn that you know, that there is a little bit of ruggedness in the old cowboy and stuff like that.
What's the best part of the cattle drive for you this week?
It was all good. Everything. The food was good. The weather was great. We had a great time.
Absolutely fantastic.
What was the best part?
Going across the Suffield Range out there. It was absolutely beautiful.
Oh, it was fabulous. I'd like to go back again. What was the best part of it for you? The showers at night. Tell me what the best part of the cattle drive was.
Being here, sweetheart.
It's probably the best holiday I've had for a long time. I've met a lot of nice people and I've just laughed my side silly. Yeah, I don't think we'll ever hit anything of this magnitude again. Like there's certainly lots of trail rides, but to have that many cattle and that many horses and this many people, and to be able to go through unbroken land like we did, I don't think it will happen, you know, probably, like you say, for a long, long time. It was experience of a lifetime.
I thought for a while and I said, mister, I just might join up with your crew. 'Cause my cash flow has done dried up and I got a bill or two. Everything's broke here but my saddle horse, and things are looking kinda dim since my wife ran off with my hired man. Boy, I sure miss him. Well, my banker's about to foreclose on my feeder cattle loan. They're gonna repossess my pickup and disconnect my telephone. Well, the cattle market's in the tank and the drought done got my hay. I said, all right, I'll take your week of suffering, but tell me, mister, what's the pay? And he said, hippity-hi-hey, yodelay, yodelay, hey. Pack your saddlebags, your bedroll, and enjoy the company. Hippity-hi-hey, yodelay, yodelay. Stock Growers Trail Drive is a place you need to be.